$100,000 from September 21st for all new H-1B applications, Stephen. Um, 21st, September 21st. Today is September 19th, Stephen. Just 2 days away from now onwards, all new H-1Bs are going to have to pay $100,000 extra. Now, can you explain more about the developments in the past 3, 4 hours, Stephen, on this part?
Yeah, so third video on this. So let's kind of walk through what we have and what our afternoon has been. Um, we got a report from Bloomberg saying that the president was going to announce $100,000 um, proclamation. I will state, somebody was debating this. This one is a proclamation, not an executive order. There's very few differences. It still has the full force of the law on this. We got the presser was around what, 4 o'clock, let's call it our time, maybe 3 o'clock. And yeah, somebody asked, is this new info? Yes, we now have the text. So we did a video after the presser saying this is what they discussed. This is what we think is happening. And now we have the text of this from the administration. So we now have the proclamation. It is effective. The effective date of the proclamation is 12:01 a.m. Eastern time on September 21st. That is Sunday. But there's a couple of nuances to what was said in the press release and what is in the proclamation. So, Rahul, if we want, we can start with the kind of what it says and then what we don't know.
Okay, first is that this is only for the new H-1Bs that are coming outside the country. So if somebody is already in United States, if they are filing the extension of the H-1B status, this proclamation is not applicable. This proclamation does not seem to be applicable even for the people who are changing from F1 visa to H1B within United States. This proclamation also does not seem to be anybody who is in changing status from other visa statuses like H4, L1 to H1 in United States. What is a little bit not clear at this point of time to us is that, is this applicable to the people who are traveling outside the country at this point of time and wanting to come back into the United States? Let's say, for example, I have an H-1B stamping until 2027 with company A. If I travel outside the country and coming back, do I have to pay $100,000 at the port of entry, Stephen?
It's not very clear. So we have three action items, let's say, on the proclamation. So section one talks about restrictions of entry, and it's 212F. The entry into the United States on H-1B is restricted except for those aliens whose petitions are accompanied or supported by $100,000 payment. And then it goes on to say that the Secretary of Homeland Security shall restrict decisions on petitions not accompanied by the $100,000 for employees who are currently outside of the United States for 12 months, starting from the effective date. And then, hey, let's watch that there's not misuse of the B visas. And then these restrictions don't apply to any alien. All aliens working for a company or aliens working in an industry, the Secretary of Homeland Security determines in her discretion that the hiring is in a national interest of the United States. And so walk you through that because, I think what we could say with confidence, Rahul, is an initial H-1B for somebody who's not in the U.S., even if they've been on H-1B before, whether we're talking about the cap subject H-1Bs, who it's their first time going through the lottery, they got selected, they're outside the U.S. I think the entry is going to be
The key point.
kept out, right? Obviously, pending all the litigation that's going to come from this. What is not very clear is someone who is an employee who goes for visa stamping, or maybe even consular processes their H-1B. With they're outside the U.S., they're traveling, whatever. That is not very clear, but I would be cautious for those individuals to expect it, because I think they're going to try to interpret this as broadly as possible.
So at this point of time, if you are outside the country, this 100,000 may be effective. But if you are within United States, you are changing the status, you are extending the status of the H-1B. It's not effective though. Now, of course, about a couple of hours ago, we may have given a different statement, but at that point of time, we didn't have the text. We had to rely on the press statement, which is not accurate all the times. But the written declaration is there right now. We read it, based on which right now this is only applicable to the people who are coming into United States. That's the main thing, coming into United States. Does it mean, as Stephen has pointed out, for the people who are going for the stamping? We don't know. The Trump administration, the executive, has a lot more authority in entry into United States. So they drafted it in such a way that it may stand up in the court. At least they try to. Of course, we don't know what Stephen is going to do. Stephen, they drafted at least reasonably enough to stand in the court as compared to what you were thinking before.
I think 212F gives them their most broad authority. If we go back a couple of instances in the first Trump administration where 212F was upheld. Number one, Trump v. Hawaii with the quote Muslim ban was a 212F entry ban on Muslims from certain countries, or countries in which they thought people were terrorists, whatever. It was called the Muslim ban. That got upheld as strong authority because the text of INA 212F is very broad. Now, where I think this is a little bit different is we're talking about a penalty to get around 212F. If you think that, there's, so president finds entry of any alien or class of aliens would be detrimental to the United States. He may, by proclamation, suspend entry. All right. And if I don't see any language here that allows for a fee. We've known, and the second 212F ban we saw was during COVID, but that was not for people of important industries that the government had identified. And so you could get exemptions from that. I don't know where the $100,000 fee penalty would come in, and I think you have another issue too with some of these people have already paid for petitions, right? They've paid the government for the petition for these cap subject H-1B to come into the United States and hire an employee that they've identified abroad. So I don't know. It'll be a very interesting challenge to work out, but it's not as clear as the way Lutnick made it seem that would completely violate everything. I think they have more authority under 212F to do this.
This is a fee, guys. This is not about the salary. So no matter what the artificial intelligence you have says, we go with the president proclamation and we read that. We have our own brains, and it is according to that it is the fees for any person who is coming into the country. Now, that's anybody who is here. For example, if they are moving from F1 to H1, this $100,000 is not applicable. So if you're applying for extension of the H-1B within United States, it's not applicable. If you're moving from H4 to H1 within United States, fees is not applicable. However, this fees is applicable to the people who are applying in the new lottery and they're coming from outside the country, this is for sure applicable. With regards to the people who are going out for stamping, let's say, for example, they got the H-1B, they are going for stamping there, we are not clear at this point of time. If the people are going outside the country and you're coming, even though you have a H-1B stamping until 2027, if you're coming back, we are not clear at this point of time if this $100,000 is applicable. What we are sure is if you're applying in the new lottery, you're coming from outside the country, this $100,000 is applicable.
Yeah, definitely is. And we'll know more. I mean, Rahul, I think we'll know more Monday. I think we'll know more Tuesday. I mean, this is going to be developing. I mean, we just got the text of this, just a couple minutes ago before we went live. It's 7:30 on the East Coast. I think most of the administration is going to dinner maybe at this time, and we'll worry about kind of the guidance on this on Monday.
It's not per year, guys. It's only one time when you enter into the country. So let's say if you have
we said that during our last one, right? We said it was going to be per year. Why did we say that? Well, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick said that. So look, we prefaced everything in the last one that we got to wait for the text, but we're trying to provide as much up-to-date information as we can. Now we have the text.
I mean, if somebody in Europe, and Ronak is asking, should he come back on 20th? Though definitely I will. We don't know at this point of time. They're going to start implementing on 21st. If you have a H-1B stamping, yeah, I would fly back. What do you say, Stephen?
I would try to if I could.
I will fly back. Now, is this applicable to the H4 individuals? No, this is only applicable to the H-1B individuals. This is not applicable to L1, O1, B1, or F1. This is only applicable to the H-1B. So if somebody is on any other visas, that is not applicable. And
it's no other visa. Sorry, I had a reporter texting me as well. E3s no, O's no, L's no, H4s no. Looking here at everything else. BAD advanced parole no, O's no. Yeah, I mean, so it's just H1s, an entry ban. I know it sucks, but there are a lot of things that are still pending, and I don't vote not speechless, that's for sure.
And September 21st is very right now. Now, I know, Ronak, this is not only applicable to Ronak, but I know that we're pressing you to book the tickets for sure. But are we 100% sure that it's going to be applicable for you? We don't know. We don't know yet. So if I were you, and if you were coming back, if you are in Europe, and if I were to come back and risk myself, and I would not like to risk if I were you, that's the reason. If I were you, I will book my flight and be back on September 20th. Existing H-1B, I-140 approved, going for stamping. Can this be applicable? Definitely. This may be applicable, definitely. This may be applicable. I'm sorry, let me take back the word definitely, though. This may be applicable. This may be applicable.
Yeah, agree. It's definitely good. Sorry, I've got a text message coming, a couple text messages coming in. But yeah, it's not again, what we aren't sure of is extensions or going for visa stampings, or let's say you have an approval right now. What will be you go travel tomorrow, do you have to pay it? That's the part we don't know how it's going to be implemented. It does seem to target mostly new companies.
I've been laid off recently. I'm in the grace period. If I transfer the H-1B, this visa is applicable? No. If you're going to transfer within United States, this visa is not applicable. Is this visa applicable to pending 485 applications? No, it's not applicable to pending 485 application. Is this applicable to H-1B transfer currently in the USA and a grace period? No, this visa is not applicable. Sansi is asking, is this per year? You meant per year. You put the title previously per year.
No.
No, this is not per year. We did put it previously about 1 hour ago. We did put it, but at that point of time, we just based on the news press release that we got. Directly, we heard from the Trump administration, though. But when they released it in the White House, it was not there. It's only for the people who are coming from outside the country. It's not per year.
Yeah, somebody somebody commented on my Twitter, Rahul, that I should go watch the video of President Trump saying it was per year when I had the screenshot of the text of the proclamation they were responding to. So, look, this is one of those things when we talk about these developing trends, the administration don't. They're going to say something and then we're going to have to figure out what it actually says, right? And so this is a good example of that, because the way it was described by Secretary Lutnick, it was going to be everything. And now we get the text and it's an entry ban.
And is there the good part about this, which we don't know is a good part, is that there is a sunset period of this one. What is it? When does this end? Is it going to be forever, Stephen?
So it says 1 year from September 21st. It can be extended, obviously. And then there's a couple other of small provisions. Do you mind me addressing, Rahul, real quick, kind of some minor, less emergency type things? One, we have something that after 30 days following the completion of the H-1B lottery in the next year, they want the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, Labor, Homeland Security to jointly submit to the president any recommendations on whether this should be extended or not. So it's 1 year, but can be extended. And then the other part is a instruction to the Secretary of Labor about rulemaking to revise prevailing wage levels. So, it's, we're going to get some things out of this.
And what about for the people who are applying for the extensions? This question is coming. No, this $100,000 fees is not applicable for the people who are applying for extensions. And is this applicable to renewals? No, it's not applicable to renewals. It's not applicable to extensions. It's not applicable to amendments, as long as you're doing within the United States. Now, if you're going to go outside the country, we are not clear at this point of time whether it's going to be applicable. If you're going to stay within the United States, we are clear that this $100,000 is not applicable. Yes, litigation will be coming. Stephen will have to be busy right now.
Yeah, I've got a couple calls scheduled already. The link is on the White House's website under Google White House.
I'll put a link there. I'll put a link out, guys, where it's been published at, so you can look into it in the chat that I'm going to put it. I'm going to.
Yeah, and real quick, somebody mentions cap exempt H1s. We don't know. There is a provision that this does not apply to certain industries or employers and all that they determine, in their discretion. I don't know how to interpret that. As of today, it's every H-1B outside the U.S., but we don't know what is actually going to come.
What about those people who is going to be picked up in the lottery of the 2025? They have a RFE. This fees is not applicable to them. Is it a one-time pay? Not clear on that. For sure, if you are coming outside the country, you have to pay the fees. But is it like every time you go outside the country, you have to pay? We are not clear about it. If you are coming first time, it is clear.
Anything else,
OPTs and
Rahul?
OPTs and STEM extensions, this is not applicable, guys. So you guys, this
Literally
is only for the
just
H-1B.
H-1B. Just H-1B.
Can H-4s travel without restrictions at this point of time? We don't see any problem with the H-4s traveling or getting stamping. This fees is not applicable to them. Does this mean H-1B holders cannot enter into the United States after September 20th, 21st? Unless you want to pay $100,000. We are not sure yet whether this is going to be only for new stampings or for the existing stampings. It's not clear yet. Because since it's going to be, Stephen, they don't have much time to clarify it. I mean, it's September 24th. What are you speaking?
I don't.
Whoops. If we can't clarify it, who can clarify it? September 21st at midnight is right? Sunday.
Yeah, that's what it says. I mean, I guess this is my advice, Rahul. Right now, if I'm outside the US, I'm assuming that this applies to me, right? And then we'll know more as we get more clarity on it.
Like I'm landing on Sunday. I can't even prepone like the guy who is in Europe because it takes more than 24 hours for the person to. There's no flights and you can't book a flight. So how?
I agree.
Because the flights land at 12, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. They don't land in 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So I'm a bit worried how they are going to interpret. What about the port of entry, Abu Dhabi? Because technically they would have entered.
That's true.
The port of entry, technically, yeah.
But it is based off of 12 o'clock, 12:01 Eastern. So.
Yeah, so the only thing that I can think about is the worst airport that we can imagine is Abu Dhabi airport. But would they take the time at the time you entered into the flight, or is it when you? So I don't know. I don't know.
I don't. So
right now for F1 to H-1B, this $100,000 fees does not look to be applicable. Who will have to pay? This has to be paid by the employer. They cannot collect the money from the employee. Wow, I don't know which employee has that $100,000. Anything else, Stephen?
No, we'll keep an eye out, and I think we're going to do one more on the gold card here with Ryan.
Just let's go through a couple of more questions here, Stephen.
What industries are exempt? We don't know. It literally
could. It national interest. Broad. National interest. They can exempt some industries, and if ever I think so, I can think about is the medical industry is what I can think about, Stephen, that they can target, that they make exempt.
Yeah, definitely.
Would they exempt IT industry? I don't think so. I don't think so. Does it applicable to non-profit H-1Bs? Yeah, it is applicable to non-profit H-1Bs too. We don't see that they are exempt in this, at least in this proclamation. Now, we yet don't know because they can still, the administration can say that this is not applicable to non-profit organizations. However, as of today, they did not tell that. Is this applicable to people who are applying for H-4 to H-1B in USA? This question comes from Shilpa. The answer is no.
Yeah, look, just to answer the questions for people that are listening, is it green card EAD? No. L1? No. E visas, no. H4s, no. Anything like that, it's just H-1Bs outside the U.S. It's that's the only group. The only group that we don't know how it's impacted are people who already have approved H1s or approved stamping that are already employed, and how it might impact, or how they're going to define these exempt companies or industries. Those are the only questions, but it's literally outside the U.S. H-1Bs only.
Question that is coming, very good question coming from SSD Car. Can we travel out of country if I already have a H-1B stamped in the passport? We are not sure at this point of time. We would strongly recommend to wait until we give you or we get clear guidelines whether this fees is not applicable to you. All
Yeah,
we are
and
concerned is the travel outside the country.
I guess the other thing to think about, Rahul, is just source your information well. I mean, look, if there's plenty of good lawyers out there, if one of my friends at another law firm does a video this weekend and they've got good information, like totally. But there was a rumor going around that this was only Rahul, this was only going to be on the salary, and that everybody was like, oh, okay, this was all fake news, the $100,000 penalty. It's there's going to be a lot of bad information out there too, so don't rely on bad information.
Is it 100,000 per application or per employee? It's 100,000 per each H-1B employee application coming from outside the United States. That's for sure, we can tell. It's not 100,000 per company, guys. It's 100,000 for the new H-1B coming from outside the country. Will this have an impact, significant drop on the H-1Bs? Yes, it should be. Especially the MNC companies that are using significant H-1Bs from outside the country, where they are getting, especially the top MNC companies that are there, especially from India, seems to be a big target here, Stephen. Because
Yeah.
there was a meeting with 10 companies in USA, though. They particularly targeted the people that are bringing from outside the country, though. So they targeted more of those things rather than actually the people who are changing the status within United States.
Agree.
So, and that's one of the reasons where I think so, where the Trump administration, when they were speaking in the press conference today, the big companies were on board. Maybe they were on board.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because they cite to some companies that had layoffs as well as H-1Bs, and I always think that's a weird statistic because you never know, right? You could lay off 100 janitors and hire 100 software developers, and it's very different. You can't do apples to apples on that, but I know at least one of those was Microsoft that they are talking about.
Is this applicable to the I-140 applications? No, this is not applicable to I-140 applications. Does this applicable to the H-1B transfer already in USA? Does not apply to the transfers within United States. Now, is it applicable if you are on H-1B and you are going to the consular processing outside the country? It may. At this point of time, we are not clear on that. We're just saying it may. Could this be an advantage for the people who are doing masters in United States, Stephen, applying for the H-1B?
Yes, I think it could. Because it's, the way this is written is a entry ban, and so I could see less companies applying for people, their talent that's abroad right now, which could cut down on the lottery numbers.
Okay. 1 second. Anything else, Stephen, before we close?
No, not right now.
Okay, thank you, guys. We are going to present, we're going to discuss about the gold card. If you guys want to, we'll be back soon. Thank you.